I already got the joke. I made.
What did he do to Joe? Poor Joe.
Everything. This is the longest I've been on the mat all day. Joe got it all.
Chris, what's up, man?
Entertained.
My daughter ended up picking New York.
Did she really?
Yeah.
Well, Chris, if she needs anything, give her my number, man. I'm right there.
Oh yeah, I will.
So if she needs anything at all, buddy.
Absolutely.
Shirt and snack.
This is yours, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Down there next to my bush.
I gotta change.
I got she hasn't texted me yet.
I did that. Okay, well, yes. But I didn't. Good. Come on. Joe.
Over here, over here.
Give me like 2 minutes.
Sounds good, Ryan. I appreciate this, man.
They've been here all morning, so they're
They're all over the place.
conditioning.
I wish I was there all morning.
I'm glad you're here, Lauren. I'm assuming you're glad you're here.
Yeah, there's no reason. Really, it's just an easy way to say that.
I'm triggered. Gaslighting, I'm triggered.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Grab a partner. Let's go arm drag. Just left, right, and switch. Arm drag. This works.
No.
All right, Josh.
Bye, Josh.
All right, time. Okay, so this workshop is me first. Listen, the reality is, especially in the range that we're going to be talking about, the person that goes first probably wins. I mean, if we're just being real about it, I need to control as many variables as I can on the front end. Okay. We're gonna kind of do some physical training, some talking, back and forth, because a lot of this is going to be understanding like the totality of what's happening in the space.
Right.
How to read what's going on. Look, we could spend all weekend just talking body language, okay, and probably still not cover everything. Definitely not know everything, but still not cover everything. I think as humans, we tend to be okay at reading facial expressions, but maybe not so okay at reading what's happening with somebody's body sometimes, especially when we're stressed. Okay, when our heart rate's hitting 170 beats per minute, me understanding what somebody is doing with their body language is important. Like Lauren right now is very closed off. Okay, because I made her mad in the last session. And now she's like, I don't care what he says.
I don't like them.
I'm gonna be here because I don't want to hear no shit about me leaving, but I'm gonna be mad about it. And now she's trying to fake her body language. I can do this all day. Okay, so look, there's a lot about body language that we literally could spend just days talking about. But I think it's important stuff. So we're gonna intersperse physical training with conversation throughout. But we're gonna start physical. So I'm gonna borrow Magnum. Let's have a seat. I need to make sure everybody knows how to throw a rear naked choke on.
I just want to see.
So we'll start very simple, very basic. My hands are on his shoulders. I'm gonna take the inside of my hand, my thumb side, and trace his neck. Okay, almost like you're trying to saw it off. Here, I'm not doing this. Okay, they're gonna, if they don't know anything about fighting, they're gonna grab your arm. Okay, get their hands inside, whatever. I wanna limit his ability to hand fight. Okay, I need to finish this thing quickly. So I'm gonna saw here. My bicep on one side of the neck, my forearm on the other side of the neck, the front of his throat in the crook of my elbow. Okay? We will talk about and look at short chokes, but that's not what we're doing right now. Difference between a choke and a strangulation, legally 0. Practically a lot. A strangulation, I'm cutting off the blood flow. He'll go to sleep in 4 or 5 seconds. He'll wake up, he'll be fine. A choke, I'm restricting airway, airflow. If I squeeze enough just to restrict airflow, then we could have similar results. But generally what happens, especially under stress, you contract really, really hard, and then you're gonna fracture the trachea, the windpipe, and probably gonna swell up, and they're not gonna be able to breathe. Okay, so practically speaking, those things are very different. Given the choice, I would rather, unless I'm having to fight multiple people and I just cannot afford for this person to get back up, I would rather choke them out by strangling them and lay them down and get in my truck and leave. Okay, so that's what we're gonna focus on right now. Here. Now, our first finish, I'm gonna go palm on palms like this, no thumbs. Here. My forearm is gonna go down his back. Like this. Here. Here. I'm gonna bring my head close to his. And now there's a lot of different movements that will finish the choke or help finish the choke. Right now, I just want you to think about making your forearm and your bicep touch each other and giving them a hug. Okay. That's it. Questions? Forearm, bicep, trying to touch and give a hug. Same rules as before, tap your partner. Good?
Yep.
Let's go 3 for 3. On 3.
Woo! Like a real quick.
We'll look at different grips. Use this one for now.
Alright, thumbs out.
Okay, time. So let's look at a couple of little nuanced things here. And look, I want to make sure everybody understands. Sorry. I want to make sure everybody understands the way that this thing should be thrown is this. Like that's the way this joke should be done, right? It's not. Damn, take one more down.
I missed it.
It's not like we're doing here. right? Where I'm being nice and gentle and he goes into that deep night sleep and, you know, I'm going to lay him down on his head and I'm going to walk away and, you know, cover him up. No. Realistically speaking, you should snap into a submission the way you would snap into a strike. The way you throw a punch is the way that you set a choke. Okay? It's not the way you do it in jiu-jitsu because you give people time to tap. But realistically, there should be no time to tap. So if I'm attacking a joint, shoulder, elbow, ankle, whatever, in real life, I'm not doing it with time to tap. I'm snapping into it the way I would snap into a punch or a knee or a kick or a headbutt or anything else. Okay? So when I snap into this choke, it's not here because I don't want to give him time to hand fight, get his chin in, all that kind of stuff. By the time he realizes he's being choked, he's 2 seconds into it and it's too late to defend. That's my mindset. That's my mentality. Okay? Now, when you get here, some of us are ending up kind of short with this. Different choke. I have the crook of my elbow in the front of his throat. Okay? Crook of my elbow in the front of his throat. Here. My elbow should be in line with the center of his face. That much difference makes this air now. I'm restricting his windpipe now. Which again, not wrong, but different. Here. Okay. And now I said, we're going to squeeze. I'm going to take my forearm and my bicep and try to make him touch. And then I'm going to give him a hug. I'm not picking him up. I'm not pulling up like this. Okay. Questions? All right, let's do this for another minute or two. Look, ultimately, are these little things going to matter too much? Maybe, because while I can still finish the choke, if I'm not deep with it, what might happen is I give him an opportunity to get his hands in, his fingers in, hand fight, whatever. I'm trying to mitigate the chances of him being able to defend before. Look, if let's say it's 5 seconds unconsciousness, okay, and that's for me, that's on the top end. I'm thinking 3, but let's say 5, okay. That's not 5 seconds of him fighting. That's maybe 3 seconds of him fighting, maybe, because in about 2 or 3 seconds, his limbs are going to start getting numb, and the room is going to start closing down like this, and he's not going to be able to defend. Last Saturday, I taught arm drag to this choke. Who was here for that? Last Saturday, I taught arm drag to choke. At one point, I leaned up against the wall with Joe. The reason I did that is because Joe went out. Joe went unconscious. And I used the wall to help hold us up because I felt him get heavy. No, that's how fast it is if it's done right. That's why I say 5 seconds. If you're good at this and you have nice bony arms like me, this is why I don't lift weights a lot. So I have good choking arms. Because all that bulk, man, y'all been sold some bullshit. Somebody knows how to set this choke, and if it's tight, that choke was on for maybe 2 seconds. Now, as soon as because I didn't hold on, as soon as I released it, he was up, he was awake, he was fine. If I had held on to it longer, it'd probably been 10, 15, 20 seconds before he woke up. Okay, but nobody in the room noticed except Joe. Joe was like, no, hold on a second. Right? And I was like, yeah, that's why I propped my ass up against the wall, so you didn't fall out. But that's how fast it can be. That's how fast it should be. Okay? And that was still demonstrating at relatively slow speed, but it was tight. Okay? So when I say 5 seconds, understand, and I'm belaboring this a little bit because if you're on the other side of this, you need to understand how dire it is. You do not have 5 seconds. You don't. Okay? Not with somebody that knows what they're doing. I would say 3 at tops. Somebody gets chest to back and they've got their arm around your neck. Right? And the reason that it's considered deadly force is that if they choke you unconscious, now they can do whatever they want because you're out. Okay, so that's an important thing to keep in mind for both sides of this, as the person applying it, but as the person that it may be being applied to. All right. Okay, so we're gonna go another minute and a half, just with this choke, just this grip. On 3.
Now you got it. Yeah.
All right, time. Questions on this? Okay, we'll look at one more grip from here. Then we'll drill it from standing. Then we're going to talk a bit, and then we'll do some other stuff. So I'm having everybody do this from seated position first, just because it's easier. Plus, if they go to sleep, then it's less far to fall. I'm setting it the same way initially. Here, this, but now my other hand, I'm going to go hand to bicep, and then this hand is cutting off the back of the neck. 1, 2. I'm going to my far side shoulder here. This. And now there are 3 motions that I'm going to use to finish this. Any one of them will finish it. All 3 of them together should make it happen faster. So think about bringing your elbows together, giving them a hug, and squeezing your shoulder blades together. Again, any one of those 3 things will finish the choke. All 3 of them together should finish it faster. So I set my choke. I go bicep, shoulder. I'm going to bring my elbows together. I'm going to give him a hug and squeeze my shoulder blades together. Okay. Now this grip, there's no hand fighting this grip. He can hand fight all he wants. There's nothing for him to really attack here. Okay. You cannot let somebody get here. That's why every time, if you watch somebody do a video on how to defend rear naked choke, they never actually show defending rear naked choke. They show defending just before the choke is set. Because if somebody is really good and they get here, I don't want to say it's over, but it's probably over. And people are like, well, that's why I carry or whatever. You will not get to your gun. It'll be the last thing you think about. When you feel like you're going to go unconscious and the pain and discomfort is here, your hands are not going to go here. Okay. All right. So let's finish this grip, and then we'll chat body language a little bit, and then we'll put this, start putting some of these things into action. Okay. On 3. Woo!
Shoulders together.
Only for a second. There you go.
All right, time. We gotta keep moving. Questions on this? All right, let's hit it from standing. And what, like, again, I'm focusing on the kind of the physical side of things in a minute we'll look at the behavioral, psychological side of it. So let's go off an arm drag. And right now, it'll be very static. He's just gonna post his hand on my shoulder, just like we drill arm drags. As I make my drag, I'm gonna think about pulling his elbow to his middle, and as I do that, I'm gonna look at pulling knee too. So if you think chest to back, right? I'm trying to get, when we drill far side hip, this, I'm thinking in terms of getting chest to back, okay? So it's not about moving him as much as it is about moving me. The hand that's actually making the drag is the one that's also gonna set the choke. So as I drag the arm by and I go to get my chest to back pressure here, I'm gonna let my arm slide up there. This right here already should be tight. Palm on palm, just like we started with here. Now, the difference is gonna be, I'm not gonna let him stand upright, okay? Because it gives him too much ability to fight this. So I'm gonna start walking him back and let his body weight hang him. Okay, so I'm not going to let him stay upright here. I'm not going to let him keep his posture. Start breaking his posture. If they are taller than you, when you make this, I'm going to take this hand to the small of the back. Here. Okay. Now, it is much harder to defend the choke when you're doing the limbo. Okay. And I might walk him all the way down and set him down, put him on his ass. But I'm not going with it. I'm going to stay upright. Okay? Slowly, because you don't want to clothesline your partner in the throat. Maybe you do, but don't do it. Here. Let your arm just kind of trace their body. Here. You should be in the whisper sweet nothings in their ear position. Okay. Got it? Yeah. Arm drag, rear naked choke. Oh, 3. Woo!
That's all we're Oh, yeah. Not pulling up here.
Yeah.
That's what I was waiting for. Oh, yeah.
Guys, look, if you feel like you're gonna go through the floor with them, let's be intentional about it. So if I'm gonna walk him to the floor and I feel like I'm gonna go with him, I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna sprawl back. I'm driving his head forward onto my forearm. Okay. I can be here. This, but I'd rather not go to my knees here. I'd rather stay in a position where I can just stand up if I need to and move on to the next problem. Okay, this is also why I tend to favor this grip over this one for self-defense. One, it's quicker, it's faster to get to because I don't do all this. But it's easier to release and move on to the next thing if I need to. Also, it allows me at least the option of going single hand choke here and keeping this hand free altogether. Because now I can, if he is doing stuff with his hands, I can check his hands and choke him out. Okay. Questions? If your partner is getting their chin in and down, come to my sub wrestling workshop, whenever that is, and I'll show you how to deal with that. Face locks. Okay? Questions? We'll spend maybe another minute and a half. So if you're going to the floor, go to the floor in a way that you can just stand up if you need to. All right? Audrey.
You see it riding back.
All right, time. How we doing?
Who brought her?
By the way, the different workshop, but if I ended up here on Maco, I can still shirt choke. Thumb inside here. All right. Okay. All right, so let's talk for a minute.
Question about the drag back. Now, when we're dragging back.
Yep.
It does get to a point where when we're pulling down.
That's a child, man.
Hang back like a lump. But it gets to a point where you're trying to like hang them. You want to time to.
Yeah, let them hang. Let them hang. Listen, what I'm doing is I'm giving them a choice. The choice is to deal with their posture or to deal with the choke. So if they're doing this, the longer they're doing this, the more they're still hanging. Their own body weight is hanging them on my arm. And it's not a lot of energy for me to keep them upright. Okay? It might become a lot of energy once they go unconscious. And now they're just dead weight. Then you can just let them go. Which, by the way, again, this leaves you choices. One reason to choke somebody out instead of applying blunt force trauma is because you control where it goes from there. If I choke them out and I feel them get heavy, I can literally lay them on the ground. Okay? Because I can tell you, not from personal experience or anything, But if you choke somebody out and let them go, their head hitting hardwood floor from standing position, no break fall or anything, is a sickening sound. Okay? You lose all control of what's going to happen to them once you let go. If I choke them out, I get them heavy, I feel it, just like, again, just like last week, I knew Joe was out as soon as I felt just that. So I just backed up against the wall and just stayed there for a second until I felt him reanimate. And we went right on with the class. Okay? What? I let it go. Anyway, okay. Let's talk. So I got my cheat board just because I want to make sure that I remember things. We're not going to cover all this right now. So let's talk very basically about hand gestures, and I'm not going to get into like if you're dealing with somebody that's in front of you, you should know the difference between this and this, just as an example. One or both may seem aggressive and may seem threatening to you, but one is much more aggressive than the other. Somebody pointing at you, this is somebody that's angry. This is somebody that is definitely a problem. While this may seem aggressive, this is literally just somebody that is trying to make you understand what they are saying. They want you to understand. They are literally trying to cut through the bullshit. No, it's true. Like, and I'm not going to get into all the different hand gestures because we can spend all weekend here, but I'm just using these two as an example because they both can seem aggressive, but one generally only is. The other one is I really just want you to understand what I'm trying to tell you. Okay? I really just, I want to be heard. I want you to listen to me. I am trying to cut through the bullshit. Okay? That's what's happening here. This is a stage beyond that. You are not listening to me. I'm a okay? Like, so again, I don't want to get into a lot of that, but because we can do this all weekend. But it is important to understand these little things that happen in front. I will say this about hand gestures. When somebody is hand gesturing and their hands tend to stay mostly inside of their body outline, they tend to be a little bit more in control of what's going on and what's happening around them. When their hands get outside of their body outline, their hands get bigger than that, that tends to be somebody that's a little out of control. Once the hands start splaying and getting outside of this, that person, now it could be, again, context matters, because if you're giving a speech and you're talking about big concepts, then the hands may get big. But if it's a potentially violent encounter, there's a confrontation, and all of a sudden their hands are getting outside of their body, that is somebody that may be losing control. Okay? So, no. And this is one of the things that I was going to mention. Cultures matter. I remember teaching in Italy one time, and because we'll talk about spatial awareness. What is true or generally true here may not be true in other cultures or other countries, nations, whatever. People in Europe tend to be a lot closer when they talk. Right? Where here it's like, bro, what? You know. So that is a distinction that matters. Okay. Which you may or may not be able to ascertain in the moment. I mean, obviously, if they're speaking with an accent, then that may give you a clue into, okay, so maybe they're not being aggressive. This is a cultural difference. So I think that's an important note to make. Like, I mean, we'll be teaching in Europe in 3 different countries in the next couple of months. And it is important to understand somebody talking to you there is not unusual. It's not abnormal. It's not necessarily invading my personal space. Americans, I'll go ahead and get into this as it kind of came off. 6 to 18 inches, so that's really close. That's huge. this is somebody that you are likely intimate with. Like, otherwise, nobody should be that close to you. Okay. Personal space, 1.5 to 4 feet. So that's a mat width this is about 3 feet. Okay. So somewhere between here and there, that's probably somebody that you're very friendly with, very close to, but not intimate. That's a friend. Okay. That's kind of that space. And again, I'm talking mostly in America. Okay. Move beyond that, social distance. This is somebody that maybe maybe you've had a conversation with, you're an acquaintance, but you're not friends with them. You don't really know them. That's that 4 to 12 foot range where now we're starting talking about maybe there to there. Out in public, somebody I don't know that wants to get my attention, wants to say something to me, whatever, they should not be inside of those spaces. Generally speaking. And I will say, I'll take that even a little bit further. If you are a female and it is a male, this is somebody you don't know. I go out of my way to walk around people and do what I can to not make people uncomfortable when I'm just out in public. If this happens a lot here, because I park in this parking lot. And so if I'm leaving and maybe somebody's leaving the salon or whatever, and they're going out to that parking, because that parking lot can be a little sketchy at night anyway, I'll just hang out and give them a lot of space before I just walk to my car. People that are aware will do that. Okay. So just understanding space is important. Once somebody starts getting inside of that space, that's giving you information. That's telling you something, especially if you've asked them to stay where they are. Like if where Magnum is right now, this is a space that I would be okay having a conversation with somebody that I didn't know when I'm at a gas station or whatever. But if it's 1 a.m., I'm not in the greatest part of town, he's looking a little sketch and he starts walking towards me, I'm probably going to ask him to stay there. I'll talk to you, but just go ahead and stay right there for me. If he keeps coming, that's information. He is telling me, I don't get what you're saying. I'm not respecting what you're asking me to do. Now, he's making this part of the process a little bit easier for me. Not easy, but easier, simpler. Because I don't have to think too much about intentions. Anybody with not bad intentions would just be like, oh, my bad, bro. I just was looking for directions. But if I ask you to stay there and they keep coming, and I say it again, and maybe this time a little bit more forcefully, and I don't ask anymore, I tell you, and they keep coming, well, there's really no decision making to be happening now, right? The decision is, am I going to hit him or choke him? Like that's going to be my decision at that point. Okay. So understanding these spaces is important. Where is it okay for me to have a conversation with somebody that I don't know? Not just from the concept of me understanding what their intentions are, but from the concept of giving me time to figure out whether this is a problem or not. Give me time to figure out what my next is going to be. If I allow them to get really, really close, and then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I'm not too comfortable with this. You've already given that space up. Okay. Space is time. And the more time goes by, the more variables increase. Generally speaking, that works against the person that's the good guy. Because as the good guy, you're on somebody else's terms. I didn't put myself in this position. I didn't ask to be here. I didn't ask to be robbed or whatever it is. Okay. And so I'm working from a certain set of moral, ethical, legal kind of boundaries that this other person is not working from. So that automatically puts me behind the curve. They pick the time, they pick the place. They pick whether they're on, whether they have friends. Okay? They pick the environment, all these things they pick. So what do I control? Space? Maybe. There's a benefit to having this much space, and then there's a benefit to having this much space. But that in between, That's where problems happen. Okay? Take it, make it, but don't fuck around with it. Okay? That in between gets people hurt.
I don't mean to go into weeds about this, but it kind of goes into like our fitness. And, you know, we have a base of this. And what you're saying is, when you start talking about women's defense,
Yeah.
I'm approaching Sam and we wait till this close before it's like, I'm like totally against that. What you're saying is, as I'm approaching, this is before I even, once I'm in her sight, this is kind of
Right.
point to,
Yes.
hey, let me make mistakes.
And that last part is the important part, right? Because it's all based on context. I get out of my car and Magna's there. Well, okay. I don't have an opportunity to go through this checklist of, all right, well, let me verbally check them from here. Let me use a verbal fence to keep them away from me. And verbal fences can work a couple of different ways. One, it can be you ask them to stay there. I'll talk to you. I'll have a conversation with you, but could you just stay right there for me? Or you can go to the other extreme. The problem with the other extreme being, MF, you stay right there, I'll break it up in that, is you better be able to make that believable. Because if you can't make that believable, now you've given up the opportunity to have an element of surprise. Because if they keep coming now, that person is ready for a fight. Does that make sense? If I verbally check somebody from here and I say, I will F you up, and they keep coming, they are ready for a fight now. I don't want that. If I'm going to have to hit somebody else first, I want them to have no idea they're in a fight. I want to raise their ego, lower their guard. If you talk in terms of and again, I don't want to get too much in the hand stuff just because it can go on forever, but there's a difference in this and this. This tends to be a little bit more conversational, a little bit more acquiescent. I'm having a conversation with you. I'm not aggressive. I just, I want you to understand what I'm talking about. This tends to be a little bit more confrontational, a little bit more I'm in control kind of thing. There's a time and place for both. Okay. This I would use more at a distance. If I want him to stay there, I'm going to use this more at a distance. I'm going to have a conversation with you from here because it's a little bit more assertive. But once that space has gone away, if I truly want to raise his ego and lower his guard, I will switch to this. Because again, I don't want him bracing for a fight. If I'm going to have to hit him first, if I'm going to have to choke him first, I want him to have no idea it's coming. The punch that knocks you out is the one you don't expect, the one you don't see. Right? So any sort of posturing that makes him maybe think, because realistically, there's not much difference between this and this. I like this from here. Once we start closing that gap, I prefer this. Both are fine, but understand what the other person may be reading from these things. Okay. Also understand too, if you're verbally checking somebody and you're telling them to stay away, but you're walking towards them, this happens in scenario work all the time, right? Especially with guns. Stay back, stay back, stay back. And you're walking towards them. It's like, I want to put this thing out in front of us, between us. Don't have them.
Right. Very funny.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. So here's the thing, and this is a conversation that nobody likes, but the reality is that the odds of a child defending themselves against an adult. So they need to have a better understanding of what to look for, how to manage the space, how to preempt it even getting to a physical place. Because if we're just being intellectually honest, an adult human versus a small child, I don't think any amount of training in the world is going to be enough of a sliding scale to now. Could they do a thing and it buy them time to run away? Yeah, maybe. Okay. But I would still, even in that case, I would still encourage them to have a more confident posture, as opposed to a more passive posture. What else?
Mindset when it comes to, like we're talking about ego, lowering ego.
Yeah.
What about, what should our mindset be just in navigating the world socially?
Yeah.
And what I mean is sometimes as a person walking the street, your ego is, see these guys here, I'm not going to cross the street like a car.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk through.
Yeah.
I actually end up getting a lot. But then you take like in general now, let's just say I'm walking up to Lauren. Lauren is extremely nice. She'll be like, hey, you know, and then you take issues where, you know, some people may be like, well, I don't want to touch my purse. They may think it's something racial.
Yeah.
All these different things. So it's like people taking cues socially that may hurt them when it comes to self-defense.
Yeah. I mean, my personal opinion is be rude. I mean, look, I'll cross the street in a heartbeat if I think that I've not gotten on the elevator before because I didn't like the way it looked once it opened up. If I hurt their feelings and they think I'm a whatever, you know, it is what it is. I'm not going to put myself in a position that I am sketchy about just because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings or I don't want to offend somebody or whatever. I am not going to do it. And I don't think you should either. I'll let the way I live my life dictate what people think about me. And I'm not going to be dictated by that moment in time, you know. And if that elevator opens up and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not feeling that, I'm not getting on. You know, I walk out to this parking lot and I start heading out to my car and there's dudes hanging out in that lot that I'm not feeling. I'm gonna walk back in. You know, why would I put myself knowing that the height of self-defense is avoid conflict, avoid confrontation, don't be there. So why would I recognize people talk about situational awareness all the time, like it's some, you know, magic talisman. It doesn't really mean anything without some kind of intent or intention behind it. So if I am actually aware of what's going on in my environment and I recognize there may be a potential problem, potential doesn't mean it actually is potential. Why would I put myself in knowing that I'm looking at this thinking, that doesn't look right. That doesn't feel right. That makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Why would I then choose to ignore all of that and be like, yeah, but I don't want to be rude. Screw that. I'm telling you right now, it's okay to be rude. Okay? It's okay. It's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to tell people, stay right there. It's okay. They'll think what they want to think. I will never see this person again, probably. Why do I care what they think about me? I don't care what y'all think about me. Why am I going to care about what some random person out there thinks about me? Like, come on. Well, Lauren, I care what Lauren here thinks about me. But
Because she's so nice.
yeah.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
All right. Other questions? I'm going to go back to this one just for a second. The hands inside the body outline. So if we understand and recognize that if somebody's hands are getting outside of their body outline, they're big. They're using big motions. They're talking with their hands big. And we understand that that means that they may be getting out of control. They may be getting aggressive. They may be losing their ability to control themselves. Then on the flip side of that, we want to do everything we can to bring our hands in. Under stress, our body wants to mimic the thing that we're seeing in front of us. And so if they start splaying their hands and we start splaying our hands, do you think that has a tendency to escalate or de-escalate? Escalate. I want to do what I can to bring them down. Okay? Even if it leads to me slapping the shit out of them, I want to do it in a way that they don't know it's going to happen. I would rather de-escalate. I would rather be able to talk my way out of this. But my body language, my verbiage, and the things that I'm doing and saying should serve at least two purposes. One, I am truly trying to de-escalate. I am truly trying to talk this person down so I can get in my truck and go to my house. That's my win. But at the same time, I'm also trying to set them up for the punch of my life if that's where it goes to. And so if I allow what they're doing to dictate what I do, I'm starting to lose control now. So when they start doing this and I start doing this, I'm no longer in control. And if you can't control what's happening inside of you, there is no way you will control what's happening outside. No way. If I don't have the emotional toughness to control my body based on my emotions, how in the world can you control somebody else? You can't. So if they do this and you do this, you lost control. If they do this and you're like, I'm choosing. This is not you choosing. It's not. This is you letting your emotions choose. This is you letting your heart rate choose. Okay? And if I truly want to de-escalate and or set them up for the punch of my life, I need to stay in control. It's the duck syndrome, right? Duck is paddling along the surface of the water. You look at a duck and it's like, it's barely making ripples. But underneath, that duck is kicking like hell. Right? So that might be going on inside of me, but on the outside, I'm not making ripples. I've got control. I'm controlling what I let you see. Even if on the inside, I'm like, oh my God, please don't make me hit you. But as soon as I let that come out, I've lost control. Does this make sense? Okay. So let's just, we'll quick bullet point this stuff and then we got to get some more work in. Flared nostrils. That tends to be an obvious one. But what tends to happen is when the heart rate starts to increase, you need more oxygen. As somebody gets scared, as somebody gets afraid, as somebody starts to get aggressive, as somebody starts to go, their nostrils tend to flare. Why? They need more oxygen. Okay? It's a small thing, but if you know what to look for, it's giving you information. If I know that they are anxious, I know that their heart rate is getting high, I know they need more oxygen. I may not know why they're anxious, but this is one thing that will tell me that they are. Pursed lips. I think we're better, generally speaking, people are better at reading facial expressions than they are what's going on with the body. So you know if somebody's like this, like that tells you a thing, right? Like that tells me a thing. Right? You know, puffed out chest, this is somebody trying to appear bigger than they are. Like that's the most animal thing that there is. Like animals all over the planet do this. They try to appear bigger than they are. That's why you start to see the hand splay, because I can make myself seem bigger. All right, this is a really small one, but it's really important. Once somebody starts to kind of go midbrain and they start to enter that fight or flight kind of place, their pupils obviously, if we're out in the sun, people are gonna be really smaller anyway. But if we're in a darker space, they're gonna be a little bit bigger. But if you notice, like really dilated pupils, all of a sudden, that is somebody that's all of a sudden trying to take in everything that they can in this space, and they are probably getting ready to go. One way or the other. My experience is they don't run away. It just don't. It tends to be more the aggressor. It tends to be more fight than flight. That's why they're there. Lowered brow. This is somebody that starts lowering their chin a little bit. That's indicative of somebody that's getting ready to go. Because I'm already starting to protect myself. Bladed stance, that's a pretty obvious one, I think. If I'm having a conversation and all of a sudden they do this, that dude's getting ready to hit you. Better know it. Clenched fist, again, that tends to be a pretty obvious one. Bladed stance with clenched fists, I promise you that punch is coming. Okay? If they do this, that dude's getting ready to hit you. 100% hit them now. Okay? It's not on there, but I will say, like, if we talk in terms of eye contact, because I think this is important on both sides, I think it's really important to maintain some level of eye contact without it being threatening. Because there's a difference between I'm having a conversation with you and I'm going to make eye contact, and every now and then I'm going to look away and, I'm going to make contact. Because eye contact lets you know I'm engaged in what we're talking about. I'm confident in this conversation. I'm not uncomfortable, those kinds of things. If somebody's eyes are all over the place, there's a couple of things happening here. One, they're anxious. Two, they're looking to see who else is around. And probably three, it's because they know they're getting ready to go, they're disassociating from what's about to go down, what's about to happen. Somebody that maintains decent eye contact, I'm not talking about somebody mad dogging you. That's different, right? That's a different kind of eye contact. That's not what I'm talking about. But that also tells me something, right? If somebody's doing that to me, they're staring me down, they're mad dogging me, they're not breaking that eye contact. That's information. Okay? All right. Questions on any of this? I know this can be a lot.
No, what does that tell you when you walk in somebody looking at you? What information on this guy?
Like if I keep
back to us when we walk in.
Yeah.
You could act like that.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to get in your mind.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm just establishing control of the space. I'm making sure everybody knows who's in charge.
It means he's gonna hit you.
United Kingdom. No, but I mean, truthfully, like not in this context, maybe. But truthfully, there is something to that, right? If I'm making that kind of eye contact with you, I'm letting you know I am not afraid of you. Right, but like that's what that does. I'm letting you know right from jump, I am not afraid of you. I don't know what you're here for. I don't know what your intentions are, but I will help you up.
Right.
Got big, you got good.
You gotta do more than that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? Because look, I think eye contact is really, really important. Just in everyday life, eye contact is really important. Eye contact tells you a lot about the person you're talking to. Somebody that will not make decent eye contact with you, you're having like a real conversation, there's something to that. We're having a real conversation, they're telling me some information, but they won't look at me. Yeah. I don't believe their information right now. I don't believe what they're telling me.
So is it true, like I work in Manhattan and I rode the subways and stuff and sketchy all the time.
Yeah.
And everybody always says, like, look at them and kind of like acknowledge them.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
I'm aware that you're there.
Yeah.
That's-
I think that's pretty solid advice. The tendency is to want to look away.
Right. I do it here and I feel like I do it like walking with my face.
Yeah, well,
Because I'm always like,
and I mean,
I see you. and
again, we talk about cultural differences. I mean, there is something to that, right? And when we give like, we do women's things, I do think there's this thing in the South about wanting to come off, you know, very nice and, you know, it's, yeah. But again, it's a cultural difference, right? It's understanding the people and the space that I'm occupying right now.
I
So,
always brought up, you're looking at them, you can do a description.
yeah.
I mean, which I would say you were like 7 feet tall. And
But it's the thing of like, in the South, okay, don't eyeball me, and then I'm like, hey.
I'll say hi.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
I'll say
saying?
hi, but I look people in the eye.
Yeah.
because-
Yeah.
And then it goes to like, north stuff, like, so.
You do,
What's up?
you do when you're
How?
passing on the street, like when there's not a lot of people. When there's tons of people, you look away.
Again, this is just understanding where you are.
Depends on the person you see.
Listen, there's a difference in if I'm passing some dude in the gym, like working out, that I've never seen before. There's a difference in me doing this and me doing this. There's a difference in me dropping my head and nodding this way, and a difference in raising my head up this way. If I do this, I've seen that dude before. I know this guy. I don't know him, but I know of him. If I do this, I've never seen you before, but I'm acknowledging that you're there. That's not only a cultural difference, now we're talking about a gender difference. There's a lot to this. All right. Other questions on this? We can do this. Can they hear? Can you hear okay, Mike?
I've asked
Okay,
it a
good.
few times.
All right. Any questions on any of this? Understanding space, hands inside the body versus outside the body, and then these handful of facial things. Good with all that? Listen, when you do, we're gonna do some power slap work. When you do your power slap work, this is hard to do, and let me tell you right now, it is very difficult to fake body language, especially when it's a potentially confrontational situation. People can fake their words sometimes. People can fake the things that they say, but it is really, really hard to fake body language. So it's yeah, a lot of times it's involuntary. It's like breathing. I mean, there are things that, you know, I didn't put on there. If all of a sudden somebody's blinking a lot, you know, versus their wide eye. I mean, there's a lot that happens here that you don't really control. And so when somebody starts to try to fake body language, that becomes obvious as well. Okay. When I called out Lauren on the arms folded.
Yeah, I immediately like.
And then immediately she was like-
Side.
All right, can we stop fighting about it?
No, but it's like that's what happens, right? When you try to fake what's really happening inside of you, it's really hard to do. It takes practice, just like everything else. Okay. So when we start doing power slap work, and you're the person that's hitting the slap, the nervous laughter that tends to happen, all that kind of stuff, you have to really try to control that, because if you're thinking, all right, I really might have to hit this person, but my natural tendency is under a lot of stress is to laugh. Not mine. I'm just saying you. That's something you better get a handle on, because if you're trying to talk this person down and you laugh at them, I can almost guarantee that's going to escalate things. It's like telling them to calm down. Never in the history of humanity has that worked. Hey, bro, relax. Motherfucker, I am relaxed. You relax. That's what you're gonna get. Okay. And we'll talk a little bit more about dialogue here in a minute. But let's go to power slaps. We're good here. All right. So let's go to power slaps. We'll start with just the physical side of it. So elbow rule. I want to work outside Chris's elbows if I can. I'd rather not be directly in front of him. When I make a step, I'm going to step to my striking side if I can. Okay, there's a couple of reasons for this. One, it starts to take me outside of his peripheral vision. Under stress, people tend to get tunnel vision. We already talked about the punch that knocks you out, the one that you don't see. I'm trying to lower his guard. I'm trying to let him think I have no like intentions of doing anything to you. You know, my bad, didn't mean to cut you off, whatever, blah, blah. I'm saying things that should be calming in some way, not confrontational at all. I'm not questioning him. I'm putting it back on me. Okay. If you're truly trying to de-escalate and or set them up for the punch of your life, don't make it about them. Don't tell them what to do. Don't tell them that they're mistaken. Don't do any of that. Because if you're dealing with somebody that's irrational, all they hear is you tell them what to do and you're calling them a liar. That's what they hear. Hey man, relax. I didn't cut you off. All he heard was, I'm telling him he's out of control and that he's lying. That's what he heard. You think that escalates or de-escalates? For sure it escalates, okay? Outside the elbows. As I get outside the elbows, the foot that's mostly in front of Chris, I'm gonna let that foot open up here. My hip and my shoulder are gonna lead the motions. My hip and my shoulder should go first. Me personally, I'm probably still talking with my hands, but again, I tend to go hands, palms up from here, okay? Once we've moved past kind of this verbal fence stage, once we're kind of here, I talk to him palms up. If this is more natural for you, that's fine. I make that step, I get outside of the elbows. My hip and my shoulder lead, the hand follows. I'm looking for the jaw, but the temple, the ear, behind the ear, side of the neck, those are all good targets. But it should come from outside of the periphery. Okay? Not this. Again, if that's what I got, then that's what I'll take. But I would rather it come from here. All right? I would rather him never see that shot. So, hands up, make your angle, open up your lead foot, let your hip and shoulder lead. I'm going to make contact with the heel of the palm. Fingers are facing away. Okay? This gives you more surface area, less likely to miss versus this. Okay? If I go here like this, and now nothing changes except I change the orientation of my hand. See the difference? And so if I'm aiming here and Chris pulls his chin back 3 inches, I'm going to miss if I'm this. This, I'll still make contact with something. It might not be awesome, but it's better than nothing. Because if you weren't in the fight before, you are now. All right? Questions? Power slaps. One holder, one hitter. I'll switch you. 1, 3. Woo! You want to see it on the pad? Or are we good?
I wanna see it on his face
I did that already.
for the gram. So it's different.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
But for
Right, and so then you better do very nice.
no, I'm saying,
Really?
yeah. When they chose you because they think, oh. Say a lot.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Again, consider why it's first. Who's approaching? I go to the people who approach. But like. Yeah, yeah. But I think it's more important to say seven. No, wrong one.
All right, time. Let's do a drill. Don't switch. We're gonna do this. This is not how I want you to do it, but there's some body mechanics that you need to have. Be really loose. Really loose. Do that 4 or 5 times. And then take that same idea, go back to your fence, get outside the elbows, be loose. Okay? As soon as you start thinking, all right, I'm gonna hit really hard, everything in your body tenses up. You're gonna be tense already. I don't want to make that worse by tensing everything up. As soon as I do that, one, it's a tell. If I look tense, that's going to read to the other person. But 2, it's now slow. Okay. Force equals mass times acceleration. Get as much mass moving as you can, as fast as you can. I want to go 0 to 1,000 from this distance. Okay. Everybody can hit hard from here. I need to be in here. Okay. So like 5 or 6 times, just super loose, and then go back to the fence.
I just like to say, it's so versatile. You can take it.
That's the only thing I know.
But that's what makes it. It's the one I never needed.
I would do that.
Time, straight. Switch. Start with the loose arms. You get like 5 like that, and then go into the fence.
Look, get out of that thing. Hey, Sam, tell them.
Keep working. Keep working.
I keep forgetting that.
All right, time. Okay, so let's talk about the setup for a minute. And look, I don't think I can stress enough, context matters. Where are we? What's happening? Why is this person a problem or not a problem? Because a parking lot is different than a club, is different than a restaurant, is different than your front yard. Is like, context matters. Where are we? What's happening? Why am I having this conversation? Why am I asking this person to stay over there? If it's this parking lot, it's 10 o'clock at night, and I see somebody walking towards me, and we're here to here, I'm gonna ask them to stay right there. That's very different than if I'm in a bar or a club or a restaurant or something like that. You're not gonna be verbally checking somebody from 20 feet away, right? It doesn't make sense. There's people everywhere. Okay, so context is gonna matter, and context is gonna kind of dictate. Also keep in mind, like, context matters in terms of what level of progression we are in and how I'm using my words. Once we're close, once we're inside of these ranges, especially starting to get to here, this 1.5 to 4 foot range, which is where violence tends to happen, my verbiage is going to change. Right? I can check somebody from here. But once we're close, no matter how we got here, okay, and that if I check them from here and they keep coming, I don't need to go through other progressions. They're telling me I have bad intent. I'm not listening to you. I'm not respecting what you're asking me to do. No normal human that does not have bad intent is going to do that. If I ask you, you might say, they might be like, well, F you then and walk off. I don't care about that. Don't care. Okay. I don't think that it is reasonable to think if somebody's approaching me in a parking lot and I ask them to stay over there and they deem me being rude or offensive or whatever, but they didn't have any bad intent, I don't think all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to fuck him up now. Like, there's a disconnect there, right? That doesn't make sense. They had no bad intentions. Them catching me off guard and me asking them to stay there, even if they deem it rude, is not going to be like, well, you know what? Now that they're rude, I think I'm going to take their car. Like, does everybody understand that context matters? And even if we're here, I'm still trying to de-escalate. Again, what's the context? Where are we? What's happening? Can I buy this dude a drink and he leaves me alone? Fine, I will. I don't care. I'm sitting in a restaurant, dude gets up, comes across the restaurant, he's like, why are you looking at my girl? First of all, normal humans don't do this. Rational human beings do not do this. So I have to know right from jump, I'm dealing with somebody that's not rational. I don't know why they're not rational. They might be rational 364 and a half days out of the year. But right here, right now, they're not. They have a crappy day, they're drunk, whatever it is. Okay? So if I'm dealing with somebody that's not rational, me responding to them and what I believe is rational probably will not work. It's like trying to reason with a toddler, right? It doesn't. You can't speak at a 35-year-old level to a toddler. They don't. So I have to be able to talk in terms that are not gonna make this situation worse. Because as soon as he walks over and he says, bro, why are you looking at my girl? And I say, I wasn't looking at your girl. What does he hear? I'm calling him a liar. My bad, man. I didn't even realize that she looks just like my sister who got killed in a car accident 8 years ago. And, you know, I didn't. But now, right? Does he still want to push that now?
Who can say they want to get involved?
No, like, listen, if I drop a line like that and they are still aggressive, I know all I need to know. I'm sorry, man. I got laid off this morning, you know, I'm dealing with some stuff at home, I'm about to lose my house, you know. I was just kind of staring off into space and didn't even realize it. Let me buy y'all a drink. I didn't actually lose my job.
But I would think.
Then once I said.
Okay, then you should not take my drink.
Once I said I'd buy you one.
Okay,
But then once I say, no, fuck the drink, you already in a fight.
Right. I know now. I know there's no conversation to be had anymore. But I'm not immediately jumping to F you. I didn't say that. I didn't do that. I didn't look at her. I didn't this, that, and the other. Because I'm automatically going to escalate. There is no opportunity for me to de-escalate. Okay?
She's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. How could you say that? That's just.
Y'all are making this video impossible.
Okay? Look. What I say matters. But also, they may be in a state to where they don't even hear what I'm saying. Okay? And that's where body language and cues are going to be important. Because I'm going to need to be able to get beyond that. But I'm going to try. Again, unless I've checked them from there and they keep coming. There's probably not much point in trying to de-escalate at that point. Or, you know, I'm having a conversation with him and he kind of, yeah, that, I'm not going to be able to de-escalate that person probably. Okay. All right. Okay. We're going to drill something real fast. If you need to take off, that's fine. So we're going to go from this kind of fence position again. Same setup as before. I get outside my elbows, I'm talking with my hands, this. I make that angle, open up that lead foot, but now I'm going to go here. I'm pushing here, pulling here. So if you think of this almost like an arm drag, just like a punch, just like a drag. Here, pop. Right into the choke that we did before. Same thing. This part's all the same. This is how I get there. So I have options. I get here, bang. Questions? All right, drill it. We'll end it here. On three. Woo! All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Time up real fast. Don't forget, if your partner is taller than you and you're doing all these same thing. Here, boom. Break his back. Don't bring him to you. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Yeah. That was good. Okay, questions?
Yeah, well, one time I saw you when you did.
Yeah.
You kind of held up, that kind of purpose,
We mean,
some of it, looked like because you have. Yeah, it was right. Held it there. You can hold it there.
Yes, I'm
I
coming.
know that they're big as hell. Just to give me a little bit more time to get to walk back.
Okay.
A little bit, the problem is, so yes, the problem is, it's very unpredictable.
Questions about mental
so-
illness affecting body language.
And the odds of me being able to, most of this still applies in terms of, I want to remain as calm as I can outwardly show. I don't want to make big gestures, big movements. I'm still trying to de-escalate. I'm still trying to talk them down, but now I have to have a real understanding that they may not have any idea what I'm saying. They depending on what's happening, what the illness is. I mean, they may think that I'm somebody else altogether, you know, and no matter what I say is going to change that. They might see me as somebody that's been a problem for them in their lives, or somebody completely, you know, made up. So my ability to de-escalate, to talk them down, is going to be diminished for sure. I will say generally that the basic concepts, remaining as calm as I can, and not making big gestures, mostly will hold true.
I was,
But
I was curious to know, like, if you looked into like schizophrenic people, if their innate responses are still there, or if that changes.
yeah, so my brother was diagnosed bipolar schizophrenic. And so I have a little bit of understanding there. It's really hard. I mean, even yeah, I mean, there are so many things that can, I hate to use the word trigger, but there are so many things that can trigger a response from somebody that is compromised for whatever reason, that I'm there's only a certain amount of variables I'm going to be able to control, you know, especially given the time that we're going to have to read the circumstances, understand the variables as much as possible, and then come up with a response to that. I mean, you see videos of professionals trying to. I had a friend that used to work at the hospital in Gastonia on the South floor, and he sent me a photo one time of a patient had taken a chair, steel legs, and you know those windows are thick glass, and they have the reinforced metal inside the windows. He had taken one of those and put one of those legs through that window. It thrown it with so much force. And I mean, these are professional people that were trying to talk him down and de-escalate, and they had no effect whatsoever. He was schizophrenic. So it's hard. And I'm definitely not qualified to get beyond the conversation that I just had. Because my experience is yeah. So what else? Sweet. Nice work, everybody. Thank y'all. Good job. Have a good rest of your week. Well.
Thanks, Rye. Awesome stuff. What's up, E? How are you, buddy?
Please get your mitts, if you will, please, the wipes in the back corner where people are dying. Those are great for gear. These are good for your body. If you need a body wipe, please wipe them down. Thank you all.
What is Tangerine E doing to this poor girl back there? Oh my God.
Where the people are dying.
Are they
She's
not?
from Gastonia. She'll be fine.
Cheers.
You know, Rye, I'm thinking they're not tired. You might want to work them harder next week.
Yeah, no. And I mean, they've been here all day.
I don't blame them. I would be there all day too. Rye, great stuff, man. Really appreciate you so much.
Yeah, man.
Have a great weekend. I'll see you. I'm in the firehouse Monday, but you know I'll do my best to tune in.
All right. See you
Thanks,
guys.
Rye.
Have a good weekend.
You
Thanks.
too. Bye.
Thank you.
Peace.